And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, my name is Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at the 5th expansion for Cutthroat Caverns, Death Incarnate. Now this is kind of interesting because Cutthroat Caverns came out ages ago, and then they came out with a couple expansions, a book, an adventure book, which is really cool, and some more expansions. Then they had a big box, and it's kind of been flailing around in the background, and now a new one, Death Incarnate, with some of the most basic bad guys that you will fight, although you think the 7 deadly sins come to life. That's basically the enemies that you're going to be fighting, and here it also adds relics and events. So if you're watching this review, you already need to know how to play Cutthroat Caverns. I'm just going to kind of go over some of the stuff in this expansion. Here we go. Okay, so let's take a look at what comes in this expansion. More tokens that we use for some of the stuff in the game. And then we have a whole pile of new encounters. Now they've changed the graphical display of these encounters. One of the things that they've done is you can see here that it tells you what expansion it's in. So there's expansion 5. And they have some keywords and things so that it makes it easier. Now this particular set, these are the incarnations of Sloth and Death, which is the name of the expansion himself. In fact, Death now becomes like a final boss here. So when you get him, he goes to the bottom of the pile and you have to fight him later on. We got Famine and Wrath and Envy and Deceit. Now Deceit is an interesting one. And this is one of the ones I find very intriguing about this game. You can just tell people what your attack is and whether it's protected or not. And other people can challenge you or not. So it adds a bit of a lying aspect to the game. No, I swear this is a really great card that I'm playing. Anguish and War and Time. Now, interesting enough, if you beat Time, you get an artifact. So let's pause here. And some of the cards in this game are going to give artifact or relics. I'm sorry, relics are a new deck of cards, and there's all kinds of cool relics, like the Shank of Spite. Here, the Talisman of Temptation, the Mask of Avarice, the Helm of Pride. I like this one in particular. It's worth 3 points. And if you choose not to heal any life for the rest of the game, it's worth 7. So some of these come from the different ones. You beat these people, you'll get this particular relic. Bronze Buckler, Wand of Purity, Helm of Arrogance. If you're winning, everyone else loses 10 life points. If not, it's worth 4 prestige. Bludgeon, Hateful Eye, Finger of Death. And these are a lot of fun for me, these particular cards, because they're just neat things to have. I like getting them. The Death Mask here. If you're ever killed, including being killed by death, you are not killed. That's a neat thing to have, you know. So these are powerful cards, and there's a lot of things that won't give them to you. So in the instance for this one, if you beat Time, you get Time's Hourglass. You'll note your life point total. You can discard this at the beginning of a future turn to put your life points back to that total. That's pretty awesome. However, if you do that, then you bring Time back and you'll have to fight him again. We also have Order, Pestilence, Pride, Lust, and then there's a couple very strange ones that came with this game. We have Hope and Despair. So the way Hope and Despair works is each player gets a card that is Allegiance, Hope on one side and Despair on the other. And you're going to be voting, basically, as you attack for them to win or not. And if Hope wins, whoever plays the winning card heals completely. That's it. If Despair wins, whoever plays the winning card gets 5 prestige and everyone else loses 20 life points. So do you want Hope, Healing, or Despair points? Another one that's interesting is Fortune. So when Fortune comes in the game, you'll bring this World card here, along with 12 other randomly Fortune cards. Whenever someone plays an attack card that's going to deal damage, these cards will be shuffled together, and you'll draw one. And the way you draw it matters because the cards have 2 different sides. So here your damage is reduced to 0 and the round ends, or all damage on the stack except yours is reduced to 0 and the round ends. Or this one, any action card in your hand may be played as a not so fast until the rest of the encounter, or for this encounter, flip a coin for each attack card you play. Heads do double damage, tails do no damage. So these are going to be doing weird things. When the World shows up, then Fortune's going to show up, and you're going to have to defeat her and fight her based on how many of these cards have been taken and used over the course of the game. So fortune adds, an extra component with these cards. There's also some quest cards in here where you can set these up, face to 4, Horsemen of Apocalypse, the Incarnations of Immortality, and the Dark Ritual of Azul. These are ways that you can play and kind of set your cards up. There's also an event deck. Now, you do not have to play with the event deck if you don't want to. In fact, the rules recommend that you don't right away, but the event deck can be thrown into a game, and you'll draw an event card for encounters, and then you'll see if that event happens based on which number encounter this is. Now, the text on these event counters is a little small. Some of them, like this Realm of Incarnate, pull things out of other ones. Let's take a look at some of these, though. There's a lot of text on them, but this one here, a player who plays an action card may draw 2 cards in their hand, ignoring hand size. So that's pretty cool. Temptation. Pride. The player with the lowest prestige can draw 3 encounters from outside the game and add 1 to the bottom of the encounter deck, and they'll get +5 prestige. Well, is that worth it? Here, everyone can discard 3 cards, get life points for each card you get rid of, which is fantastic, except then that's your maximum hand size for the remainder of the encounter. I like that one a lot. Here, flip a coin after all attack cards, and then everyone will pass their cards to the left or keep them where they are at. Take damage, you can reassign it to somebody else. If it doesn't wound it, you'll gain 10 life points, and you can destroy relics. A lot of these cards will give relics. This is a lot of the ways, like these treasure cards, where relics can come from things like that. So if you're going to play with relics, you're going to have to play with the event deck. But what the event deck does is it kind of, hey, I'm already playing against time, I'm already playing against war, and now we're also having this event come in possibly. It's a nice addition. And that's that. That's everything here in Cutthroat Caverns Death Incarnate. I like this one. It's been so long since I played many of the different expansions that it's hard to give like some sort of ranking. Like, this is the best expansion. But I like the enemies in this one a lot. I really like the event cards because they don't pop every time, and they just add a little bit, and I love the relic cards. Love the relic cards. And some of these enemy cards, in fact, if I'm playing a game of Cutthroat Caverns nowadays, I might sneak a few of these into the deck just because I like to play against some of these, like the anger and the different, and war and things like that. I find them entertaining and fun. And I like anything, this game's already kind of cutthroat, and this kind of ups that ante to some degree. This is probably of only interest to people who are huge fans of the base game and have been collecting everything, but I think those fans are going to enjoy this a lot. That's Cutthroat Caverns Death Incarnate. Dice Tower Judgment approved.